What if one day the power went out and it didn't come back on anytime soon? Well, that's what retired 9-term Congressman Roscoe Bartlett was thinking about when he built an off-grid retreat deep in the mountains many years ago.
And in this video, he's going to give you an exclusive tour of his place and all the ingenious tricks he built into it to make it one of the most self-reliant cabins we've ever seen.
Check it out.
The ready life into the country.
We bought the property here in the fall of 1980, and that same fall we built the cabin. As a matter of fact, we started building the cabin before we closed on the property. It cost just about $1,000 to build the cabin, and it was livable. We lived in here for quite a while, really. It's really a very interesting challenge to try and build as much livability as you can into something as small as this. This is 16 by 20 feet. And it will sleep 10 people, every one of them in a bed. One of the beds is here. It's the kind of a thing that you have in a motorhome, a bit larger than you have in a motorhome. And the table goes down to form the bottom of the bed, and the cushions slide out. And so you have a pretty much a full-size bed there. The center, of course, in any cabin like this is the cook stove. And you see that here. And as they say, it does 4 things for you. It cooks your food, and it bakes your bread, and it warms your house, and it heats your water. Of course, in the summertime, even here on the mountain where it's quite cool and you don't need air conditioning, you still don't want a fire in your stove. And so we have a little propane stove here. As long as propane is available, why we will do our cooking in the summertime on that propane stove. And in the cabinet under it is a 20-pound cylinder, which should pretty much last you quite a long while in the summertime with the limited cooking that you would do. Let's walk around to the corner here and see the heating system. There is in the firebox in the stove here, there is a stainless steel U-tube, and you can see the stainless steel U-tube here. And this is called a thermosyphon system. And out the back of the stove are 2 pipes. One is the bottom of it, which brings the cold water in, and the other is the top of it, where the hot water runs out. This is the cold water. This is the hot water, and you can feel a big, big difference in temperature. And hot water is lighter, and it rises, and cold water is dense, and it falls. And there's a tank upstairs, which we'll look at in a few moments, and that stores the hot water. Now, it does not have a cover on it, so we can see how the tank works. You could either leave it uncovered if you want the heat up there, or if you want to maintain more hot water, you would put covers on the tank, and we have 2 covers here to put on the tank. The water system in the house is this a special kind of a cistern pump. If we open this valve and close this one, then we're pumping out of a spring, which is under the house here, under the cabin. And if we close this valve and open this one, we're now pumping up to a storage tank in the attic through this hose. And when the storage tank is full, it's not quite full now, but when the storage tank is full, why, the excess water will run out here, and you know the storage tank is full. So a little exercise in the morning, and then you have running water all the rest of the day. Because we're pumping water up, a bit of force is needed. We built a little extension here that we could put onto the where you can pump more easily. And now you've got some leverage, and so you can easily pump the water up to the storage tank, which is up in the gable, right up in the very top of the cabin here. There's a little refrigerator here. Be very careful in refrigeration when you're out in the woods like this with power that you're getting from the sun or from a wind machine. And we looked and looked until we found one that had a very high efficiency. It's very small. It's very interesting how small a refrigerator you can get by with. If you think about your refrigerator at home, they really ought to make refrigerators. They're only about 6 or 8 inches deep, because that first 6 or 8 inches that you use, and the rest of it, you just store food in it until it gets old enough that you have a clear conscience and you can throw it out. So with a small refrigerator like this, you don't have that problem, because everything in it is going to be usable because it's small. If you plan your meals, you won't have all that much left over, and so a refrigerator that size will serve quite adequately. Let's take a look next at the Murphy bed here. This doesn't have the springs and stuff in it, but it's light enough that it doesn't matter. It's easily manageable. Well, maybe we ought to go upstairs. To get upstairs, there's no stairway here. If you just think today about the world we live in and all of the creature comforts we have, you will recognize that essentially none of them would be there without electricity. It is the power source for almost everything out there. You can't communicate. The electrons don't flow in your car. The gasoline won't explode in the cylinders and you won't go down the road. So if you cut off the flow of electrons in our world today, it's just a whole different world. There's a ladder on each end because there's a bedroom on each end and you'd like some privacy. I'd like first to look at the water system here. This is the hot water storage tank. As I put my hand on it, I can barely hold my hand on it. We've had a muted fire down there that will get so hot you can't hold your hand on it. Now we have 2 blankets that you can put around that, the regular blankets for insulating around your hot water heater. If it's cold wintertime, you want heat upstairs here, you might not want the blankets on it. They easily come on and off. Just leave this here. Now it's a big radiator. Be assured that that stove will produce more hot water than you need. As a matter of fact, you can have a luxury bath every night and you still will have hot water left over. The pressure for the system is this tank right above us here. And the cabin was just large enough I can get the tank in and walk under it, as you can see. And this you fill by pumping up from the kitchen sink down there with that unique kind of a cistern pump that we have down there, which is also a force pump. I also have in the basement, which we'll go into a little later, a electric pump down there. But I'll tell you, it's very comforting to know that you can live well without electricity because it might not always be there. And so we have the force pump down there, and I have not used the electric pump yet to fill the system. Let's look at the beds here. 4 can sleep. We built this for our sons, and their friends would come down with them, and so we can sleep 1 here, and we can sleep 2 in the bed under it, and we can sleep 1 in the bed over here, so you can sleep 4 here. I want to show you something very unique about under the bed, and let me pull this out. Oh, those are the 2 blankets for the... but notice how big that drawer is. There's no dressers here, but you have more space in these drawers than you would have in dressers because there are 3 drawers under this one. If I pull the drawer out from the other side, that drawer will be even longer. In a small cabin like this, very much like a motor home, you've got to make sure that you use all available space as efficiently as you can. We also have a half bath up here. The bedroom here was the bedroom that we stayed in for a number of years while we built the house, and it has larger than the standard bed here. It is as wide and a bit longer than a standard bed. I just want to show you again one of these enormous drawers underneath. In addition to the shelves there for storing things, we have these drawers, and it pulls out and out and out. See how large the drawer is. These have a very interesting, it's like Teflon nylon material under the drawer. There are no slides, but it really slides quite easily. And you can feel the air coming out because it fits in a pretty tight box. You can feel the air coming out as you shut the door, but it opens and shuts very easily. This is where you come up. As you see, it takes no floor space. I'm walking here on the little trap door. You open that up, and there is the ladder that goes downstairs. Our pioneers frequently had in their house a secret place that it wasn't obvious it was there. It wasn't intended that our cellar, our basement would be that way, but it turned out that way. If you move this wood box back like this and set this kindling box on top of it, move the rug, we will open up into the basement. The house is built over a spring, and you'll see the kind of a basement floor that we put in to accommodate that. Let me go down now into the basement and turn the light on, and then we will move down into the basement so we can see what's there. The grid upon which we depend for almost everything is very vulnerable. It is just at the tipping point, is the way that the experts will characterize it. Our demand has grown, and the grid has grown just barely enough to keep up with demand. And it is really almost a Rube Goldberg kind of thing. And the least little perturbation can bring parts of the grid tumbling down. We're now down in the basement. I'd first like to note that wherever you're building over anything that's going to be damp, always use treated wood. It has two advantages. One is it's treated and it won't rot. The second advantage is, in the east at least, it's always a southern yellow pine, which is a very tough wood, so you're going to get more strength from the same size board. So this is all treated. We also have a rigid insulation here, which serves somewhat as a vapor barrier, because it's going to be moist down here. If you're going to use this as a root cellar, you want it moist. And here you see some shelves where you could use this as a root cellar. Since I dug all of this out by hand, I simply dug down as far as what's convenient and then put shelves in. It's a whole lot easier to store things on a shelf than it is the floor anyway. You're not leaning over to pick it off of the floor. This is interesting here. There was a stump here, and it was going to be very difficult to get the roots out, and so I just built around it. The black that you see there is 20 mil PVC, and this is a pond liner or swimming pool liner, and I put this here to protect the spring because we're built over a spring. You can see electric pump back there that I mentioned earlier. I've never used that pump. I always simply use the hand pump, and you can see there the hose going up for the hand pump. By the way, at the bottom of I have a one-way valve down in the spring, so to drain the system, you'll see a sill cock there, and when it's going to freeze, I simply put a bucket under that, and I'd get out maybe a quart or so of water that runs out of that hose up to the pump. And then to protect the PVC, this floor is just loose laid half-inch treated plywood. If you have the luxury of having a spring above you, by all means capture that spring and have automatic gravity flow. We didn't have that option here because the spring was right down here where we were building our cabin. So we did the next best thing. We built the cabin over the spring. And originally we had a simple little cistern pump, and they cost, I bought one for $19.95 recently. Buy them on sale, they're really very cheap. If you're not pumping it up to a tank like we have in the attic, they serve very well. And you simply pour a little water in them, and they are kind of self-priming, and you can pump out. And when we lived in the cabin here, that's what we used. But if you can't have gravity flow, which is certainly desirable, do the next best thing, build over the spring. And what we do here is so that you have the convenience of running water. We simply have that tank, which you saw earlier up in the attic, which stores the water, and then everything runs by gravity from that. So during the day when you're using it, it's gravity flow, and it's just simply turn the faucet on, the water comes out. You're not going to get the explosive pressures that you have in the city where you're running 60, 80 pounds pressure. Here we're running, it's a half pound per foot, and we're 5 feet, so we have 2.5 pounds pressure. But the water does flow, and you can take a shower, and you do get enough water to wash your hands and so forth. By the way, if you aren't familiar with the root cellaring, you really do need to become familiar with that. Our forefathers used that extensively. You go to Europe today, you go to Russia particularly, and they just don't trust the system. And they aren't sure that there's going to be food on the shelves all winter. And so whether you're rich or you're poor, you probably have a dacha. And you go outside the city, and if you have some means, you'll have a nice summer home there, but you will grow your garden there. And if you're poor, you'll have something there that's not much bigger than a 2 by 4 feet in which you store your hand garden tools. But everybody that I know in Russia has a dacha, and they raise their food, and they use root cellars, and they pickle it, and they dry it. There are all sorts of techniques you can use to preserve your food. We don't really think of those today because it's so convenient to go to the supermarket. But, you're planning because the supermarket may not always be there. And you need to know that in our large cities, there's about 3 days supply of food. Now, those supermarket shelves may look really full, and they are, because when you're taking it off, the clerks are stocking the shelves. And if they didn't stock the shelves just at the rate that you take it off without a panic, all those shelves will be empty in about 3 days because the trucks need to keep running to keep those shelves full. What if the trucks didn't run? There are a number of things that could bring about situations where there could be really serious civil unrest in the cities. And we'll show you a little later a root cellar that's built into one of the other homes here on the lake. And you'll see the potatoes that were put in there last fall. They come out this spring, not even a sprout on them. And nobody was living in the house all winter. The house is just being built, but yet the potatoes work perfectly. In fact, you can plant them. You never need to buy seed potatoes. Our forefathers didn't buy seed potatoes. There weren't any to buy. They kept their potatoes in a root cellar, and when spring came, there were the potatoes, and they could go out and plant them. So it's a self-perpetuating kind of thing. And what you really need to do is to plan so that in an emergency, you could do that. It may be convenient to go to the store and buy the seed potatoes, but you will always have next spring, if you have a root cellar, you will have potatoes which will have made it through the winter, which you can use for seed potatoes the next spring. This is the downstairs bathroom. This bathroom is quite small because it's in a cabin, which is only 16 by 20 feet. This end is a lavatory. The tub is obviously recycled from a motor home. Okay, let's take a look now at the rest of the accessories of the cabin. Obviously, you need a wood supply, and we have designed the wood supply so that it is accessible without going outside. A little greenhouse on the cabin here with the windows facing south. And there are 3 cords of wood stored here. And that 3 cords of wood should be more than enough to last for a full season in heating in the cabin. And then next is a little shop here. And it's amazing how convenient and necessary a little shop is. This is really very rudimentary. It has just a basic economical skill saw and a sliding miter saw, vise, and a grinder. And the last little thing I need in here is a simple drill press. And then next is a barn in which one time we had chickens and goats. Now it's primarily storage. In the wintertime, it's very inconvenient to go outside to get wood, which is covered with snow and ice. It's very nice to have it under cover. It's even nicer if you don't have to walk outside to get it. So something which is attached to your cabin that has the wood in it with a covered walkway to get in the door is very convenient. And then when you have something like this, there's not only do you need the shop when you're building it, but there are always things you will need to do. And a simple shop setup like this will pay for itself many, many times over. As you can see from the construction here, very little expense was involved in this. Matter of fact, this barn is built out of local rough-sawn lumber. It's built out of white pine. It may seem strange to build a building out of white pine, but it's a very common material here in the mountains, and so this came from a local sawmill. Of course, anything that touches the dirt is treated wood. The white pine will rot in a couple of years if it touches dirt, so make sure that anything that touches dirt is treated wood. So I think that provident people who understand, who have a responsibility to their families, will be looking more and more to getting out of the city. And it's a huge challenge. There's no exhilaration like the exhilaration of meeting and overcoming a big challenge. You stop and think about, gee, what do I need to do so that I can be independent out there? That if the world fell apart, it really wouldn't matter for me and my family. That's really an interesting challenge. By the way, one other reason for doing this is it's a really patriotic thing to do. Because for all of our citizens who aren't dependent on the state when an emergency happens, we're going to be stronger and stronger, aren't we? So as a member of Congress, I'm concerned. I would like everybody to do this. I would like everybody to have a year's supply of food. I'd like everybody to have some plan so that they can make do if any one of these emergencies occurs. But it's going to be easier to do that, and you'll avoid the problems of civil unrest if you're out of the cities and out in the country.
Okay, now that was inspiring, wasn't it?
That was awesome. Don't you want to learn how to incorporate some of these independent features into your home?
The Ready Life Academy is the place where you're going to learn how to do that. And right now, you can try it out for free by going to thereadylife.com/try.
Beyond the super practical video training, you'll get the secret recipe for success, an experienced coach to give you advice and answer your questions, so you're not fending for yourself.
And the Academy will walk you through the 6 steps to independence, from stocking up on items that you're going to need during a disaster, to setting up an independent water system, as well as off-grid solar power systems, growing your own highly nutritious food, preserving that food, and keeping your home warm without grid power.
And you'll be able to pick whatever you want to work on and get your family better prepared, whatever your budget or wherever you live. And if you need to relocate, we'll teach you how to find the right place also.
And right now, you can try it out absolutely free. Just visit thereadylife.com/try. And hey, after you check that out, here's a video that we think you're going to like.